The merger between Huntsville Hospital and Crestwood Medical Center is complete, but multiple groups have voiced concerns about the move, citing the difference in nurse pay between Huntsville Hospital and Crestwood. The North Alabama Area Labor Council and United Women of Color released a report earlier this week, citing a bottom 3% national ranking for hourly pay for nurses in the Rocket City. It's a major concern for labor organizations here in the Tennessee Valley. Tonight, we hear more from them.
We already know that Huntsville Hospital has historically paid their staff less than Crestwood, especially nursing staff. So from a staffing point of view, just from the protections of the workers there, that is an immediate concern of ours.
Whitney Washington with the North Alabama Area Labor Council believes her organization and others like it need to sit down with the Huntsville Hospital CEO to make sure staff pay is kept level.
We would love to sit down with Just Sam's and discuss getting these commitments in writing to make sure that staff is protected, that staff at these hospitals can have competitive pay.
In an interview with Fox 54, Sam's assured the public that staff salaries will not only stay the same, but actually go up.
We're making an over $30 million investment in nursing compensation, and we're committed to paying them fairly.
Some argue competition is necessary to ensure quality care and competitive pay. We spoke with Huntsville City Council candidate Nick Freevold, who says the state would be the first roadblock.
There's a state law that is the certification of need. So before a hospital can actually build here, they have to work with the state and actually prove that their hospital is needed in the area. And that's an actual big barrier because Alabama has actually blocked hospitals in the past based on the certification of need. So, and we're only one of 8 states that actually have the certificate of need.
And now with the lack of a second hospital, Freevold believes there's more of a need for another option.
Even if it's just a small competitor, just one competitor is really beneficial to the market because that's what you need for a healthy market is competition.
Both Freevold and Washington believe only one healthcare provider in Huntsville could be a deterrent to city growth.
NASA's Artemis II is officially out of this world. The crew left Earth's orbit Thursday and is now heading straight to the moon, and there's no turning back. The crew is now set to slingshot around the moon, sending the 4 astronauts to places humans have never been before, all the way behind it. NASA says so far the Orion spacecraft has performed flawlessly, except for one very essential piece of equipment. NASA released the first image of Earth taken from thousands of miles away, and during the journey, the high-flying crew says they're not forgetting to enjoy the ride. And if all goes according to plan, the crew will spend 10 days together before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean off San Diego. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
The Artemis II mission marked a historic event in our nation and city's history, but Artemis II isn't done making history yet. Today was the critical moment to officially set the Orion spacecraft and the Artemis II mission for its course toward the moon. Here's a live look. The more than 5-minute process was needed in order to increase the speed of the Orion capsule. That allows it to leave a circular orbit of Earth and move into an oval-shaped orbit to get it close to the moon. Now, NASA said the Orion now has enough power to take its 4 astronauts on a 4-day trip around the moon. The crew expected to return to Earth April 10th. The Alabama legislature also took a moment this morning to celebrate the launch. Here's a listen.
With Artemis being launched this week and what's going on, I think we failed to recognize that a lot of that work that was done, well, most all of the work that was done to put man back to the moon happens right here in Alabama. And we should never take that for granted. And I think it's something that we can be proud of, we can hang our hat on, and as Alabamians, we can brag about.
Certainly something to be proud of. Well, after the historic launch of Artemis II yesterday, the excitement for space isn't slowing down here in the Rocket City. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center now seeing a surge in visitors as people look to get closer to the future of space exploration. Artemis II marks the first crewed mission around the moon in more than 50 years, a major step in NASA's plan to return humans to the lunar surface. With more than 1,000 people at the watch party, the energy at the USSRC continues to build. Fox 54's Valentina Chalala has more.
After yesterday's Artemis II launch, the parking lot at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center is packed. Inside, crowds are pouring in, a clear sign that space enthusiasm is taking off again.
I just ran into a little boy, he's wearing a NASA shirt, and I asked his parents if they'd watched the launch, and they said, oh, absolutely, and that he'd been talking about nothing else.
Cars lining the lot as school groups, teams, and families come to learn more about space. Under NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, NASA is pushing for more frequent launches, with another Artemis test flight expected next year and a lunar landing targeted for 2028. Pat Ammon, Senior Director of Communications for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, says that momentum could spark even more interest.
We're really in a new age of space exploration, and I think the administrator is setting a platform for us to do this next launch of the Artemis program, and so I think we're going to get into more of a rhythm as we look to establish a base on the moon and then get ready to journey to Mars.
Space enthusiasm last peaked in the 1960s, with the first moon landing in 1969 and the Apollo missions. Now, a new generation is taking notice. Cameron Cummins says before the launch, she didn't know much about space.
As a chemistry major, I don't really know too much about that world, and it's always good to come and understand and see what they see.
Space in different ages, it can spark interest, innovation, hope, and the younger generation.
The Artemis program is a multi-company effort, with NASA working alongside Boeing, SpaceX, and Blue Origin, among others, to move the phases forward. Ammon says that collaboration is bringing people together around the future of space exploration. In Huntsville, I'm Valentina Chalala, Fox 54 News.
According to Congress, NASA's fiscal year 2026 budget increased by about $400 million, helping support current and future missions, including at least 30 robotic missions that are part of Artemis III that will help put humans back on the moon.
China makes almost all of the windmills, and yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China.
As you hike through the mountains outside Beijing, dwarfed by none other than towering windmills, you can see and hear China's green energy revolution.
It's incredible standing this close to one of China's colossal wind turbines. In fact, China is installing roughly 2 of these every single hour. And analysts say in 1 month alone last year, China added enough renewable energy to power a country the size of Poland.
For Chinese government, we have a long desire for a stable supply of energy for the whole country.
Long before the Iran war oil shock, Beijing has viewed reliance on Middle Eastern fossil fuels as a possible security risk. That, in part, has helped fuel China's green energy push for the past 2 decades.
And look at what's up ahead on this ridgeline. China now has the world's largest wind energy generation system. You could see it still even in the outskirts of Beijing, where we are right now. Wind and solar contribute to about 20%, about a fifth of China's energy generation. That's already ahead of the United States, where it stands at about 17%.
There's definitely going to be greater appeal of Chinese clean tech exports.
And those include electric vehicles, with China's BYD overtaking Tesla to become the world's top EV maker, and now exporting more than 1 in 5 of its vehicles to over 100 countries.
These super big cars, at least in the West, that drink a lot of gas, they're not going to be very popular long term. Maybe the red carpet's going to be rolled out in some countries for these more affordable Chinese electric vehicles.
But demand for China's green tech, experts note, could vary depending on geography. A potential complicating factor, the United States has warned nations for years not to let China build critical infrastructure, a dynamic that could impact Middle Eastern U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
they want technologies and investments from China's side in green energy industries because they want to be less dependent on oil export.
So certainly the scale of what China's building is leading the cost of renewable energy to plummet. But what remains to be seen is what scale China will export of its green energy technology in this new moment for global energy. Mike Valerio, CNN, Beijing.
The war in the Middle East has disrupted global oil supplies, causing a sharp increase in jet fuel prices. Instead of raising ticket prices right away, some airlines are adding increasing fees.
An airplane itself is extremely expensive to own, to operate, to maintain, to fuel. All those costs have to be recovered before any profit can be realized.
Robert Katz is a commercial pilot. He says jet fuel prices, just like gas prices, vary depending on the city you live in.
The price varies widely, and it really should not, because the fuel in California is the same quality and manufactured process as what we find in the Central Plains. So why the big price discrepancy?
JetBlue recently announced they are bumping up the cost to check a bag, especially during busy travel times. In a statement, the airline says, as we experience rising operating costs, we regularly evaluate how to manage those costs while keeping base fares competitive. Jet fuel prices have jumped nearly 85% since the Iran war began on February 28th. There's also concerns about a global jet fuel shortage.
And we're consuming more and more fuel today than ever before. So is there really a shortage, or is it something that's more of a hyper-reaction to a perceived threat?
Some experts say what we're seeing now may just be the start. Airlines around the world are already adding fuel surcharges, and more U.S. carriers could follow.
The public has nothing to fear. Airlines would not be in business if they did not have access to adequate supply of fuel.
It's unclear how long we can see the rise in fuel costs, but as long as those prices stay up, so could the cost of flying.
I'm the space plumber. I'm proud to call myself the space plumber. I like to say that it is probably the most important piece of equipment on board. So we were all breathing a sigh of relief when it turned out to be just fine. It was just an issue, I think, of sitting for a long time and needing a little time to warm up, a priming issue. But we did originally think that there could have been potentially something fouling up the motor, and luckily we are all systems go.
A group of students here at the Billings Career Center entered a national competition to design new tech for NASA. Now they're headed to Houston to share their findings with the pros. Inside this classroom, complex ideas are turning into real-world designs, all through NASA's HUNCH program, which stands for High Schools United with NASA to Create Hardware. One team's solution? A robot built to travel across the moon's surface that can flip itself back on its wheels if it falls over.
So how we went about that is first establishing how we needed to make the cage of the robot. So we came up with this design for impact. So when the robot hits the ground, it won't damage any of the electronics. It'll be able to stay in one piece, and then it will re-level itself using these arms.
Another group focused on helping the astronauts themselves, designing a space for unloading equipment and working safely.
For that problem, we came up with our garage here. So this would be the airlock. So the astronauts would come through here, drive the rover with the supply pod into the airlock, and then they would be able to go through and go into the rest of the garage.
Projects like these are built through months of testing, redesign, and collaboration.
We had 5 teams competing this year. 2 of the teams made it to Houston. The other 3 teams made it to the semifinalists, which is truly exceptional.
Their work is already standing out on a national level. For these students, the opportunity goes beyond competition. It's a chance to showcase their ideas in front of NASA.
It's great. It's not very often that all of our teams make semifinalists or finalists. It's an exceptional thing to see that it really shows their true dedication to these projects.
The students will head to Houston later this month, where they'll present their work at the Johnson Space Center. In Billings, Rachel Kindred, Nonstop Local.
Sticker shock for summer travelers. Airlines are raising fares, adding fees, and cutting routes to offset surging jet fuel costs caused by the war with Iran. JetBlue increasing baggage fees, Cathay Pacific boosting fuel fees, and United reducing summer flight schedules. United CEO says fares could shoot up as much as 20% because of war-related shortages of fuel. The Wall Street Journal says the loss of small perks on the job and the rise of AI have conspired to strip work of all fun. Dell Technologies used to have free espresso shots. Now staffers are charged a fee when they use the machine. Corporate cutting is widespread as businesses look for inefficiencies, while AI is squeezing more work out of fewer people. Gallup says the average manager was overseeing 12 people last year. That's up nearly 50% from 2013. And Benson Boone will be doing his signature backflips in stadiums across the country this summer. Boone announced his Wanted Man tour with a cake-baking video on Instagram. The 34-day tour kicks off July 7th in Pittsburgh, with stops in Baltimore, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and more, before wrapping up September 3rd in Casper, Wyoming. Tickets are on sale now. CJ Papa, Fox News.
You can find them on granola bags, cereal boxes, and a whole host of products in your pantry. But how much weight do you put into food expiration dates?
It's ideal to know when that food is going to be best utilized by. Now, that's where it gets a little tricky. So that's just an estimate.
Registered dietitian Julia Zumpano with Cleveland Clinic says there are 3 kinds of food expiration dates. One is sell by, that tells the store how long they should display the item for sale. Then there's best by, or best if used by, which is when the product will have its best flavor and quality. Finally, we have used by, the last recommended day for the product to maintain peak quality.
Shelf-stable items are usually the ones that can exceed their dates. So looking at things like dried goods, like rice and pasta and cereal, canned fruits and vegetables, beans, things like that, usually are pretty safe.
Zumpano says to pay closer attention to expiration dates printed on perishable foods in the fridge, like meat and dairy. That's where bacteria and mold are more likely to grow. She says to always use your senses. If you see mold, sliminess, or the color is off, toss it. If it smells off, sour, or moldy, throw it out. And if something doesn't taste right, get rid of it.
If it is past that date, using those senses, or, if you feel better just tossing it, you can. But the goal here is to reduce food waste.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither. It's not a new danger, but new data shows household cleaning products remain a major risk to curious young children.
They can be harmful. They can be dangerous. They can be deadly, depending on what it is and how much might be ingested.
Dr. Lara McKenzie with Nationwide Children's Hospital is one of the authors of this study just published in the medical journal Pediatrics. The researchers combed through 16 years of data and found more than an estimated 240,800 U.S. emergency room visits for children 5 years and younger linked to injuries from household cleaning products. McKenzie says that's one injury every 35 minutes.
People have a lot of products in their house. Kids spend a lot of time at home, especially, very young children. So it's kind of like the perfect storm.
McKenzie says hospitalizations for household cleaner-linked injuries have risen by 1.5% over about 2 decades. Bleach, detergent, especially detergent pods, are the products that most commonly lead to those injuries, but parents can help prevent children from being hurt.
The best thing to do is store those cleaning products in their original containers, but up high, out of sight, and out of reach, preferably in a locked cabinet or closet.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie is off to a stellar start. The animated sequel made an estimated $34.5 million in domestic ticket sales on Wednesday, the best opening day of the year so far. Box office watchers think grosses for its first 5 days could approach $200 million. We'll see if the third time's the charm for The Corrections. Meryl Streep is set to executive produce and star in a limited series for Netflix based on the 2001 Jonathan Franzen novel. Previously, a film version and another series based on the book were developed but never came off.
You're not alone anymore, and you never will be.
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place is coming back for one last spell. Disney says a final 4-part event goes into production this month, with Selena Gomez making her directorial debut with the first episode. It's due out this summer on Disney Channel and Disney+. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Food, glorious food. Even if you can't boil water in real life, you can whip up your cooking skills in a trio of new food-themed games. Cooking Simulator 2 Better Together lets PC players create their own recipes as part of its gameplay. Ah, delicious carbs, but with a twist. Noodle Hustle focuses its gameplay on being a roadside noodle cart vendor with the added element of making enough money to help your hospitalized grandmother. And if a VR game about hot pot cooking is more to your palate, That's My Tofu pits players against their digital cousin in a friendly food frenzy of dueling chopsticks. All 3 games are available via the Steam game service. Leveling up and now hungry for hot pot in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Watch a rare dancing bird steal the spotlight in the middle of Manhattan. Bird lovers and curious commuters flocked to gawk in the city's Bryant Park to catch a rare glimpse of the American woodcock, a migratory forest bird that, according to WCBS, pops up in the Big Apple every year around this time. Not since 2018's #HotDuck, Central Park's fabulous flashy waterfowl, has a bird garnered so much looky-loo love in the city that never sleeps. So why all the fuss this time? It's mainly to catch a glimpse of the woodcock's TikTok-worthy moves, a bouncing, booty-shaking shuffle the bird reportedly uses to hunt for food. And while these beguiled birders didn't necessarily get a full-on funky footwork performance, don't worry, they made do with their own moves. Another surprise visitor spotted in a strange place turned out to be not at all what it seemed in California after Laguna Beach police shared on social media that a reported trespasser call turned out to be just an elaborate April Fool's prank. A man reported drinking on private property was in fact just a dressed-up dummy placed there by an unknown prankster. It probably didn't help that the department had handled a legit trespasser call in someone's yard just days before. They shared pics of the prank, but also a reminder that calling 911 isn't a joke, and those looking to pull epic pranks should stay safe, have fun, and not be a fool. Oh, really? Maybe the Popo should practice what they preach. Just take a look at this tongue-in-cheek April Fool's post by the Colorado Springs PD, touting Tacticat, the so-called newest officer in their fictional feline unit. The department kidded that the kitty cop specializes in stealth operations, hiding in cardboard boxes and striking unsuspecting ankles. You gotta be kidding me. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
With the Easter Bunny on his way, you may be thinking of getting a bunny for yourself. Now, one local rabbit sanctuary cautions that while the critters can make great pets, families looking to adopt one should carefully consider everything they need to make sure their pet is happy and healthy. There's no need to deny it. They're just adorable. With those big ears and long or short hair in different colors and sizes.
That you honestly just can't help smiling when you see a bunny hopping around.
Which is why around Easter, people often can't resist getting a bunny of their own. For the family that manages Avalon Micro Sanctuary, they can tell you everything a rabbit owner needs to know. Heather Keister's daughter, Island, now a veterinarian in training, came up with the idea on her 16th birthday.
We actually started out rescuing pigs, 2 piglets, but then we quickly pivoted to bunnies when we realized that the need was so significant and there wasn't a lot of resources to help them.
Since 2020, Heather and her daughter, along with her family and volunteers, have learned plenty about the specialized care these small animals need. Things like needing plenty of caged space in a stable indoor environment, having to be spayed or neutered, and more.
They have as much personality as your dog or your cat, and they also have needs that are different from but very similar to the level of care a dog would need, and most people don't realize that.
But shelters, cat and dog rescues, and farm sanctuaries do. That's why bunny rescues in the Portland area and beyond work together to shelter, foster, and rehome abused, unwanted, or surrendered bunnies. They say rabbits can be great pets for the right family, but shouldn't be considered a starter pet, especially for kids.
Kids usually like things that are cuddly, like a kitten or a puppy. Bunnies look cuddly, but they need their personal space. So what I would say is if you think that you want to bring a bunny into your home, consider whether or not you're willing to be the bunny's main caregiver for their lifetime, which can be about 10 years.
And no need to go to a breeder. At Avalon alone, there are 100 bunnies in their care between the shelter and foster homes. So if you're looking for a bunny, think twice about their care or consider lending a helping hand.
Once you start working with animals and seeing how great the need is, it kind of becomes impossible to stop. Not that I would ever want to. Like, we're doing this. We're in it for the long haul.
If you or someone you know has adopted a bunny of their own, reach out to Avalon Micro Sanctuary or one of the many other rescues in the area to get more information on how to care and how to find care for them. We'll have a link for more information on the Fox 12 News app. I'm Io Elise, Fox 12 Oregon.
Meet Scarlett and Louie, two certified therapy dogs looking to comfort people who are nervous about being in a courtroom.
Please come to the stand.
They are among 6 dogs being evaluated in a moot courtroom.
Today, as long as she behaves, she's going to get her courtroom canine certification. We're going to have several lecturers come in, such as judges, lawyers, prosecutors, and even counselors. They are going to teach us, the handlers, a lot of what's going to go on in the courtroom.
The training is part of Courtroom Critters, a nonprofit started 3 years ago by retired police officer Stephanie Lafredo.
And this process is going to help the handlers understand what goes on in the courtroom, as well as we want the dogs to be nice and calm during the courtroom and not make any noise.
Courtroom Critters currently has 50 therapy dogs and 10 certified courtroom canines.
The dogs, mostly they work for the victims of traumatic crime. That has been our main focus, and they're trying to make their lives better, but their anxiety sometimes is so severe that they don't show up. Since we've been having the dogs in the courts, they've been happy to show up, and it's made an amazing difference.
Stephanie Frank wants to see if Louie has what it takes to join the team.
I'm a lawyer. When I heard about Courtroom Critters, it just seems really up my alley to really be there for people who are having a hard time. It's more support because being able to pet a dog while you're under stress really helps.
So people can face their day in court with a little extra comfort at their side.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then, stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush. Fast-paced news updates, featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True crime warrior style, Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app. Available on Android and iOS devices. Streaming 24/7.
There's more to Fox 54 Plus with the Locked On Podcast Network. From the Tide to the Tigers, from college teams to pro, the Locked On Podcast Network gives you insights and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.
These kids, they want to play.
I don't think so. I think it was Chad Baker-Mazzara.
Locked On Sports, streaming every day of the week and right here on Fox 54 Plus.